So Mams Taylor has come out and stated that the Misfits Prime card is officially full. There will be no more fights added to this card. And that is, of course, if no one pulls out Dylan Dennis. But let's knock on wood there because we hope no pullouts. There's not going to be any pullouts going on this card. So let's check out the full card. Let's look at these matchups and let's see what they have in storage for us on October 14th. So normally Misfits puts on 3 prelim fights. This time we're looking at 4 fights going on the prelims. It's looking like we're starting out with SX versus DTG. I don't know how to really gauge this one. I haven't seen either guy fight. I know SX is on a few of KSI's songs, so maybe, you know, he's seen KSI training and all this stuff and he got the bug that he wants to get into training and maybe get a fight. DTG, I'm not too sure about him. I think I've heard his name come up a few times here and there about people saying he's gonna fight. So I'm not too sure about this one, but we'll see. You know, Misfits is known for putting on some pretty entertaining fights, even with people we don't really know. So should be a good fight. We also got Chase Demore versus Tempo Arts. Now this one should be a pretty fun one. I remember watching Tempo Arts a little while ago. I think he fought on that Le'Veon Bell JMX card, if I remember right, and he walked out with a knockout. So, and Chase Demore, win or lose, this guy stepping into the ring is always comedy. It's always so funny. Something weird happens every time this guy steps into the ring. So I look forward to this, even though, you know, it's not from a skill base wise, but just because, you know, it's going to be a good laugh. And then this is interesting because look, this card is so stacked that we got Astrid Wet, a Misfits champion, on the prelims. She's taking on Alexia Grace. I'm pretty sure these are the girls that were supposed to fight on Astrid Wet's Wet Promotions. That sounds very weird, but yeah, so they were supposed to fight, and then they got into that little thing where Alexia Grace pushed Astrid down and she got hurt, so they couldn't fight. So now they're fighting on Misfits. So I know a lot of you guys were excited to see that fight, and I remember coming back to stream, we were going to watch that together, and then Astrid ended up getting hurt because they did a face-off the day of the fight for some reason. And then the fight you guys are probably most excited to see on this prelims is going to be the rematch between Swarms and Ryan Taylor. So can the One Punch Man come back? I think Ryan Taylor definitely wanted this rematch because he probably was a little embarrassed by that first outing. But, you know, I think this is going to be a much more competitive fight. I do think Swarms is going to take the win here, but I think it's definitely going to be much more competitive. I think Ryan Taylor, you know, due to the embarrassment, he's got something to prove a little bit now. So he's going to put up a tougher fight. And now moving on to our main card for this Misfits Prime card, we got Alex Wasabi and Nick LMAO versus Los Pineda Coladas, B-Dave, and Luis Pineda. So this tag team is very weird, right? I don't like the matchup here. I really don't. I think Alex Wasabi and Nick LMAO are both way too skilled for their opponents, but especially for B-Dave, I think the only person that is really going to have to carry on the other side is Pineda. So I don't know how I really feel about this tag team. I think it's pretty one-sided. I think throwing someone like Alex Wasabi on a team with somebody is kind of, you know, I was worried about this at first. I was like, you shouldn't be making a team that's too good because then you're going to have to keep upping the ante, and then you're going to end up putting someone like Slim and Salt Poppy on a freaking team together against other people, and that's just not fair in my opinion. That's not cool. So I think this tag team is a little bit too overpowered for the competition, but who knows? Maybe Pineda and B-Dave can pull out a huge upset here because I'm sure Alex Wasabi and Nick LMAO are going to be the big time favorites in this fight, as they should be, in my opinion. So, and also what I don't like is, I know a lot of you guys are wanting the rematch between Wasabi and Deji. I think that probably would have been a better fight to add on to this card than this tag team fight. But, you know, the tag team fights are always pretty entertaining. So, you know, this should be fun to watch. Then we got the return of Winterson Nunes after an embarrassing loss to King Kenny, and the return of my mate Nate after also his embarrassing loss to King Kenny. They're both taking on each other. So this one should be pretty interesting. They both went out there and didn't perform like they wanted to. My main Nate getting knocked out in the second round, and Winterson Nunes just getting dominated over 5. So, and my main Nate, you know, backing the Thailand crowd behind him. Winterson Nunes backing Brazil behind him. So we're bringing in some good crowds here from all around the world, and I expect this fight to be pretty decent. I think both of these guys really are going to have something to prove, that both of them want to make a statement. So I expect this to be a much better fight than both of their last outings. So stay tuned for this one. And then another good matchup I know you're all looking forward to, King Kenny versus Anthony Taylor. We're going to be able to see if King Kenny can do what Salt Poppy was not able to do against someone like Anthony Taylor. And, you know, Anthony Taylor, he's promoting this fight saying it's going to be a brawl. It's not going to be like the Salt Poppy fight. He's going to come forward. He's going to throw bombs, and he's going to try to knock out King Kenny. And as we all know, King Kenny's got that length. He's got that reach, and he has pretty decent power. So can King Kenny use that ring generalship, use his range, use his reach to keep Anthony Taylor up off of him, which Salt Poppy was unable to do? I think King Kenny has a better chance stylistically. I like King Kenny's chances against Anthony Taylor, but the question is Anthony Taylor just going to be too much for someone like King Kenny? And the next matchup we're going to talk about was just announced this past Saturday, Salt Poppy taking on Slim. What a matchup. What an unexpected matchup. I expect this fight to be... They haven't released the official lineup of these fights, so I expect this fight, honestly, to be before Logan and Dylan Dennis, because this is too big of a fight. This fight is huge. Salt Poppy is coming off of that pretty embarrassing loss. Not that embarrassing, but a little bit embarrassing loss to Anthony Taylor, so he's coming to this fight with something to prove. He's probably gotten a lot of crap from people, from the fan base, you know, saying that he didn't perform, that he's overrated, that he's not as good as people thought he was. And I just think that he hasn't really shown his skills yet. He hasn't been given the opportunity to show his skills yet. And I think Slim is the guy that will give him this opportunity. Slim is a lot tougher than all the other opponents Salt Poppy has faced. Slim is going to go in there. He's not afraid to throw down. He's not afraid to take shots, to give some back. So this is going to be a fun fight. And in my opinion, if Salt Poppy knocks Slim out, he is a serious guy. His power is really serious, because we've seen Slim in some crazy firefights where he has taken some real damage, and you know, he just walks away smiling, laughing, saying, "Yep, this is the type of fight I like. I love these brawls." Well, let's see, because Slim is no slouch himself, right? I think a lot of people are kind of underestimating Slim's skills just because he hasn't been in the ring for so long, and he's recently had a few tough fights. But if Slim could pull out a win here, I think people might try to undercut it a little bit and say maybe Salt Poppy isn't that good, but I just think that proves Slim is just that much better than what we expected. So either way you cut it, somebody is getting a mega win here, and somebody's getting exposed a little bit. So this is going to be a fun one. I can't wait to watch this fight. Next up, we got the rematch talked about for months and months and months. We got Dean the Great, Wally Sharks 2. Now this fight is probably the most interesting one on this card, but it's because of how the first fight went. Wally Sharks was dominating the fight, hurting Dean, dropping him. That left hook was money all night. And then Dean the Great snaps it all away with an overhand right, knocks Wally Sharks out. He wasn't intelligently defending himself, wasn't intelligently telling the ref that he wants to continue. So the ref called the fight in very, very controversial fashion, but the right call in my opinion. But this fight is going to be crazy, because did Dean make the adjustments, right? Both of these guys need to make adjustments. While these Sharks need to not sleep on him, because it shows that, you know, Dean is skilled enough that you make one mistake, it can cost you the whole fight. And Dean, he needs to get his P's and Q's up, he needs to get that defense up. We have seen in his last fights, it still has been not to where we would like to see it. It's still been pretty subpar, but, you know, Dean the Great probably working on that defense now, especially dealing with that left hook. So I think it's going to be a much more competitive of a fight, and I'd like to see a knockout here. I don't know if we'll get to see a knockout, because I think both these guys are going to be very, very hesitant, since they both felt each other's power, and now they know they can both be hurt, wobbled, and dropped, and knocked out. I think they're going to be a little more hesitant. I'll make my official predictions the week of October 14th. So the only thing I'm going to predict now is that this fight will go to the judges' scorecards for a decision. And now the double main event, which I don't know why they call it that. It's the main event and co-main event, whatever. So we got, for the co-main event, or the first main event, whatever you want to call it, Logan Paul, Dylan Dennis, or Logan Paul, Mike Perry, but we'll not talk about that just in case. So Logan Paul, Dylan Dennis in my opinion, this fight is, I think it's going to be a lot more one-sided, right? I don't think we're getting a knockout in this fight. I really don't believe so. But I do think that it is going to be a one-sided beatdown. I'll give my, I'll delve more into it later on. But I do think it's going to go one way or the other. I don't think it's going to be close. And I don't think we're going to see a knockout. As much as they might preach a knockout, I don't think we're going to see one this fight. And for the main event, as of course you all know, KSI versus Tommy Fury. That co-main event is kind of taking the spotlight a little bit with that build-up. But, we need to stay focused here. The big fight in influencer boxing right now, the biggest fight thus far, besides the Jake Paul Tommy Fury fight, is the KSI Tommy Fury fight. Because should KSI win this fight, it's going to become the big question. Number one, there's 3 questions, right? There's number 1, will Tommy Fury get a rematch? Because if Tommy loses, I know he's going to be screaming for that rematch. Number 2, will he fight again? And will that fight be against Jake Paul? Because that's the only person left out there should he beat Tommy Fury. And number 3, is he just going to retire from boxing? As we all know, he's a very busy guy. He has all this other stuff going on outside of the ring. He probably wants to continue to pursue that music career. And KSI isn't a very young guy. So he wants to focus on these other things. So is he just going to retire, call it quits, be like, look, I proved that I'm the best influencer boxer, and that's it. But also thing too is like, if he retires, should he stay? In my opinion, I think he should stay in the gym, because if Jake Paul rematches Tommy Fury and then Jake beats Tommy Fury, now we got the people talking about a KSI Jake Paul fight again. So I think if KSI beats Tommy Fury, I think you don't give Jake Paul an immediate rematch or immediate fight. Let Tommy Fury go fight Jake, and then be like, all right, well, the winner will fight me. Tommy Fury will get his rematch if he wins. Jake Paul will get his KSI fight if he wins. That's how I think he should play it. But of course, I want to see what you guys think about all this. What do you think about this Misfits Prime card? It's definitely the most stacked card they've ever put on. This might be the last and final hoorah. I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll have another big card in store for us with KSI on it. But this might be the last one. So let's enjoy it. October 14th. Of course, I will be live for you guys with this huge card. As always, I thank you all so much for the support. And I'll catch you in the next video.